inside the heart, the valve, and I was in the room with him, and I knew at that moment that he was gone, which was,
you saw your father die.
I basically, I mean, he lived for several weeks later. He was alive, but he was clinically
Basically,
dead.
you knew.
Yeah, and I knew at that moment that he was gone. I mean, I rushed out and got doctors, but I could see him going.
Do you ever think, Mariel, and your mother died when?
My mother died about 11 years ago.
And that was a tough blow for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a very tough blow, and because my mother had been sick almost nearly all my childhood. So when she died, it was more expected. When my father died, it wasn't, and that was very difficult. When my father died too, it really made me look at my family in a different kind of way, and I think that I really mourned my sister, my father, my mother. It's almost like the accumulation of that was pretty powerful.
In a sense, Mariel, the Hemingway name was both a curse, in a sense, and a benefit. It certainly was an entree for you, wasn't it? You started as a model, right?
Actually, I didn't. I started as an actress. I was in a movie with my sister, Margo, Lipstick, and I was 12 years old. I turned 13 on the set. She was one of the biggest models in the country at that time.
I interviewed her.
She was the first model to make $1 million. She was one of the first supermodels to be on Time magazine. I mean, she was huge, and she was 19, 20 years old. And I made this movie with her, and I got acclaim after the movie, and she got slammed, and it was very, very difficult. And it was the last thing I wanted to happen. I was going to do a movie so I could go to Los Angeles and get school clothes. I mean, that's how naive I was.
Did it cause a cleavage between the two of you?
No, we actually had a good relationship. We really did.
She was how much older?
She was 7 years older. My sisters are that much older than me that I wasn't really like, it was almost like being an older child.
Was the other sister older than her?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
When you got Manhattan, you were 17, right?
I was 17.
Had you modeled then, or was that?
I did model a bit. I moved to New York when I was 16 years old.
On your own?
My parents were a little bit, I think they were out of their mind. Having two daughters of my own now, I know that that's never going to happen, so don't get any funny ideas to my daughters out there. But I moved to New York after making Manhattan. Because I had this idea that I wanted to be an actress. I had the opportunity to go to Princeton, and I decided I wanted to act. So I moved to New York, but because I'd made these movies when I was so young, I couldn't get any of the money that I'd made. So I ended up modeling a bit, but I also walked a friend of mine's dogs and cleaned his apartment. So it was kind of odd to be somewhat of a celebrity, but also have to do
walking dogs.
Yeah, I was walking dogs.
And Woody spotted you?
Woody, actually, that was after doing Manhattan.
Okay. Let me get a break and come back with more of the incredible life of Mariel Hemmingway. We've only just begun. That make a nice song title. As we go to break, here is Mariel in her Academy Award nominated role in a brilliant Woody Allen movie, Manhattan.
Do you still love me, or what?
Do you love me?
Yeah, yeah, of course. That's what this is all about. You know.
Guess what? I turned 18 the other day. I'm legal, but I'm still a kid.
Now you can own 13 Days on the next generation of DVD.
We're talking about possible nuclear war.
Kathy! 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 I was gonna take a shower. Kathy. I thought.
That scene from Lipstick when you were, how, 11?
I was 12.
Oh, very pretty. Very pretty figure.
You know what was so ironic about that movie is that I had no idea what the movie was about until the movie came out. My father took me to the movie, and I wouldn't talk to him when we came out of the film. I go, I can't believe you let me be in a movie where I was raped. I had no idea. I had no idea. I had no idea my sister was raped.
Now tell me about Margo. Found dead in her studio apartment July 1st, 1996. She was 41 years old. She had battled addiction, eating disorders, had financial problems, had epilepsy. Now here's what the coroner said, and then we want to discuss it with you. Here's the coroner's verdict on the death of Margo Hemingway.
Basically, the cause of death is listed as an acute phenobarbital intoxication, and the death is going to be ruled a suicide.
You do not think so?
I'll just tell you what the coroner told me two or 3 weeks prior to that announcement. I was with the woman coroner that had found her. She said to me, she found her lying on her back with a pillow underneath her legs with a book on her lap. And she said, that doesn't sound like, to me, it looked to me like somebody who committed suicide. And I said, absolutely not. So as far as we were concerned, it was not. And she said she said point blank, it was not. The fact that they released it as suicide 3 weeks later, never called us to warn the family or tell us that that's what was going to happen, I thought was a bit appalling. I don't think it was suicide. Bar none, I do not think it was suicide. I think that she was doing better than she'd ever done in her life. I mean, she'd come through so much, drug and alcohol abuse, and she was into hatha yoga. She was trying to do all the right things. I think, had she started earlier in her life, it might have been more beneficial.
So what do you think she died of?
She had epilepsy caused, I think, don't get me wrong, I'm not an expert on this, but I think triggered a lot by her alcohol and drug abuse early on. So when I think the combination of all the herbal supplements that she was taking to try to be healthy and her epilepsy drugs caused her death. That's what I think. I think that she had a seizure. She was, she had candles lit. She was not.
Bothers you that it's labeled suicide, right? Personally bothers, as well as that the records show that your sister.
It bothers me. It bothers me because I know my sister. She was not suicidal. She had a lot of problems, like many people have a lot of problems, but she was not suicidal, and we loved her, and she was doing well. And I'd spoken to her quite.
There was no note?
No. Another thing about my sister, she was a great girl, but she was a big bang girl. She would have written a hell of a note. I just know her.
She was dramatic.
She was dramatic. She liked to make a big scene.
Of course, the other side said, well, the Hemingways, they may have this depression problem. It could be in the genes. The grandfather did it, etc. Right?
I think that is the media saying, we want a story. This sounds better. This will work for whatever. And that's a choice that the press makes often. I think that they'll wield something to make a better story.
Was Margo married at the time of her?
No, she was not.
Had she had children?
No, she had not.
She had been married, though.
She had been married twice, yeah.
Do you know what set her off? Why she she was successucul, right?
She was successful.
Wasn't she?
I think that when you
She was on this program. She did a Playboy layout, as I remember.
Yeah, she was successful. I think she didn't realize her success. I think that when you become a star, the kind of star that she became at 19 years old is tremendously.
There she is on the front cover of Playboy.
Yeah.
She was gorgeous.
She was a beautiful, beautiful woman. And I think that it takes its toll to become that huge when you're that young. I mean, she was big. And when you're that big, also another thing that the press loves to do is bring you down. It's like you're that big and they're like, okay, we've had enough of you. And I think she didn't know how to handle that. I know personally that it is a difficult thing to handle. Having watched my sister go through her life and stuff, I think it made it easier for me to know that the wave goes up and down. And my life's not like that. I have a good, and I think that, if she'd known what she knew later on in life, that, drugs and alcohol do cause all kinds of problems. And when she got in she was a part of the jet set of the 80s.
Your older sister has had her problems too, right?
She's had her problems in the past. She's doing very well now.
That's
She's
good.
living in Idaho. And
were you close to Margo at her death? When she was...
Yes.
The day where were you?
Well, no, we had not seen each other in a few weeks, but I'd spoken
did you
to
talk
her.
all the time?
Yeah,
Oh, you were sisters.
We were sisters. We were definitely
how
sisters.
How did you learn of her death?
To be honest, I was called.
Why?
I think my father called me, having heard it from somebody that called him. And then
First
of course
reaction?
it just didn't make sense. It just didn't make sense. It was the last thing that you expected, you know.
Because she was doing better. I mean,
She
you
was
knew
doing
there
better.
was
She
always
was
that
looking
chance.
beautiful. She was thin again. She was, you know, it was all. No, I didn't think that there was a chance. No, I didn't feel that there was.
How'd your father handle it?
It was very difficult for my father. Very, very difficult for my father. Having, you know, been the son of somebody who committed suicide, and you know, and the way that they brought it out in the press, it was devastating to him because he wanted to say that's not how it happened. You know, this is my daughter, and you know, he just quite recently lost my mother. You know,
Do you know what the basis for saying it was suicide was? In other words, they told you initially it wasn't. Then they announced it was. What was the rationale? They obviously
It's
had an
like
autopsy.
I said before. I think that they just wanted the story. I don't know. To be honest, I don't know why the coroner would say that. And I don't know. I have no
Your
answer to
sister,
that.
at 21, had a budding movie career, had $1 million perfume contract, right? She had open invitation to Studio 54. Not many people
Not
had
many
that.
people did.
And a decade later had lost it all.
Well, yeah. I think that the pressure of her life was too much. I think.
Did anything have to do with being a Hemingway, do you think?
No.
No.
No, I mean,
You're a Hemingway and
I'm
you
a
didn't have
Hemingway
it.
and I didn't do that. I mean, I'm very reticent. I'm very careful with the way I live my life. Everything about my life is taking care of
Did
me.
your sister confide in you? Did you know of her problems?
Yeah.
I mean, you knew she was into drugs, you knew she was...
I didn't know. Early on, I was young, so I didn't know a lot about it. I didn't know a lot
Was
about
she
it.
epileptic all her life?
No.
Oh, that came on?
It came on. I think it was triggered by the drug and alcohol abuse.
We'll be right back with Mariel Hemmingway on the Sedition of Larry King Live. Don't go away.
I think it's a celebration of my rebirth, basically. It's something, I think it's one of the most positive things that I've ever done. Hopefully we learn from all of our, experiences, and I certainly learned some great lessons, but not until I quit drinking, and I've learned so much about myself and about life in just the last 2 years. In this business, as you very well know, it's a very competitive business, and Hemingway, having the last name Hemingway, isn't enough.
All up in the bushes and I'll cover myself in beet juice and walk around nursing babies on my National Geographic boobs. We can forget all about marriage. It'll probably be too hot for it anyway.
My wife is looking.
Well, she is dead. Why someone with the brains to win a Nobel Prize can't figure that out is beyond me.
Very talented Mariel Hemmingway is our guest. We're talking about a lot. Do you ever think that there's some sort of curse on your life in a sense? I mean, for you, it's been very but
there's no
things
curse on my
around
life.
you.
I think everybody has stuff in their family that's difficult to deal with. They really do. I just happen to have a name that's much more out there. And people want to know. So they think they want to know. My life is wonderful. I've been very careful in my life to live a healthy life, to teach my children how to live a healthy life. Because, I think that there are genetic things that every family has that you have to watch for. So for me, that means, my kids eat well. They don't eat so much sugar. I really believe these kinds of things are important to keeping your life healthy and sane. And
do they know about their aunt? Mm-hmm. They know about Margo and what happened to her and everything, right?
Oh yeah. I use it as an example. It's like not something she wanted to happen. She didn't take care of herself early enough in her life, and they know that you gotta. I've talked to my kids. They're young, 11 and 13. I tell them about drugs. I tell them about sex. I tell them about things they think are just gross and they roll their eyes, but I tell them because it's important to know. It's important to have knowledge.
When your sister was in Betty Ford, did that help her?
I'm sure it did. I'm sure it helps a lot of people.
She also had bankruptcy. She had financial problems. How did that let that happen? Was that through marriage or?
I think it's through, I don't know. I don't know what her finances were. I think it was through hard living, or jet set living. I don't know.
Were you rich kids?
No, absolutely
not. You didn't inherit a fortune
No.
from
My father.
All of his, but the grandfather's residual?
No. Not at all. My dad and my uncles did not have a lot of money growing up, when we were growing up at all. My father did well sort of later on. He made a Hemingway trust and put things together. But growing up, we were not wealthy kids. We were not spoiled brat kids.
Now, Margo,
but everybody thought we were.
when you got very famous,
yes,
and you did, Academy Award nominations, modeling that whole scene, Margo wasn't jealous of that?
I don't, you know what, I don't know. I don't think so. It's not something we talked about.
No.
She was
Did you have
happy
a
for
sense?
me.
She was.
She was happy for me. She really was. She was a good person. She knew, you know, she would have liked it to work for her. Of course she would have. You know, who wouldn't? It's what she wanted to be, was an actress. You know?
You're the rock of the Hemingways.
Yeah.
We'll be right back with Mariel. We'll be including your phone calls in a little while as well with Mariel Hemmingway on this edition of Larry King Live. Tomorrow night, Steve Crone will be with us. He's the attorney for Paula Poundstone, who has her problems these days, and Pat Boone, who is going to be here because of great...
Get your back. Is that what you're saying? Sit down.
Boy, Star 80, that was some film with Eric Roberts and you.
Yeah.
Playing a real live person who had died at his hand.
Yeah. It was a powerful movie.
Playmate.
With Bob Fosse, who was one of the great directors. It was an amazing movie. It was a tremendously hard movie to make, though. Bob was very much, I suppose you would call it method. I didn't realize it at the time. But he would play a funeral march during the whole end of that movie. And, you know, a movie with somebody like him takes a long time. So it was very intense.
Eric's kind of great actor, but off the wall too, right?
He was great. He was great. He was great in the movie. He was intense, but he was playing a really, really difficult role.
Yeah, very difficult. A man who was obsessed.
Obsessed. And you knew it from the beginning of the film. So throughout, he was just a very complicated character, and I think he did an amazing job.
Did you get to know Hugh Hefner through any of the making of that film? Or was
no, I'd actually met Hugh Hefner before, but we did get to go up to the Playboy Mansion prior to filming so that we could see, and then they, you know, simulated one out in Pasadena, but it was an odd place.
A couple of things on Margo, and then we'll break and we'll take some phone calls and talk about your life now. But tell me if you ever filed a protest against the finding, if you ever asked for them to look again, exhume the body maybe.
No.
Why not?
You know what? We've been in the limelight as a family for long enough. It was best to just not say anything and let it just die. Because I think when you make a big stink about things, it just keeps going and keeps living, and I don't.
So you feel important now about setting the record straight in a sense of how you feel?
You know, I say
that
what I
is a
believe.
Taint.
Yeah, I'm saying what I felt happened, and that's all that needs to be said. And, you know, I don't care if anybody believes me. I know what I know, you know, and that's what's important. I'm not out trying to impress anybody anywhere. We're a family. Sometimes that's forgotten. We're a family who loves each other, who, you know, support it. We lost a member of our family. It's very hard. But you move on.
You are a rock. We'll be right back with Mariel Hemmingway. We'll include your phone calls on this edition of Larry King Live. To test your knowledge on the Hemingways, log on to our website at cnn.com/Larry King. We'll be right back.
Now have broken contact with Pooch Anderson and Torrey Skinner. Bell lap, 1 to go.
59 seconds. That's incredible. I don't think they can hold it to the end. It's just a question now of how much they die, how much they slow down. Charlene Benveniste still trying to hang on.
We're back with Mariel Hemmingway. That scene from Personal Best. You got a lesson on that movie, right?
I had a what?
A lesson out of that movie. The director told you that you were behaving badly, and...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he did. I'd come from making, I had made Manhattan, and
you were a star.
I thought I was a star, and I guess I was acting like one. And he came into my trailer one day, and he said, "You're acting like a brat, and you're being snotty." And I stayed in my trailer and cried for 4 hours. I was so embarrassed. I think I
But it
improved
changed
after
you,
that.
right?
It did. I really was like, it shocked me, because one of the things when I got into this business I never wanted to be was stuck up. When I was a kid, I thought, I never want to be stuck up. I never want to be, like, I never want my friends to think I'm different. Never wanted to change. So when he said that to me, it was like the very thing that I worried about. So it did change me. I thought that I wanted to be everybody's best friend on the movie.
You've done some interesting things. One of the more interesting occurred in 1994. You were on Roseanne. This was the lesbian scene. I think the first lesbian scene ever on television, right?
First lesbian kiss, I
Kiss,
think.
okay. All right, watch this and then we'll ask about it. Watch.
You know, Roseanne, we ought to hang out more often. I was thinking that too, but next time, let's leave the wives at home. You read my mind. Huh?
That was history, folks. When you saw the part, did you say okay right away?
Yeah, I'm always game for a little controversy. I think that's always good.
You knew it would cause a stir.
You know what? I didn't realize it was going to cause such a big stir. I'd made Personal Best, which was already, you know, kind of a lesbian relationship in that movie, so I didn't
no
think
kissing,
that much.
Was there?
There was some kissing in the movie.
But not never been on television.
No, never been on television. I just didn't, to me it was like, oh, that'll be fun. You know, it's Roseanne. Yeah, sure, that'll be great. I didn't realize it would have the impact that it did. It was fun. It was really fun. It was so, and she was great. She was hilarious about doing it. She kept
There's
kissing and doing
criticism
it.
about it too, wasn't there?
Oh, I think so. Yeah, that was a big.
Let's get in some calls for Mariel Hemmingway. LOJ, Georgia. Hello.
Yes, Mrs. Hemingway, are you happy, and do you ever have any thoughts of depression or suicide, and do you know any American writers that are comparable to your famous grandfather?
Yes, I am very happy. I have a very good life. I don't have, I'm very, very lucky, but the way that I live my life, that I don't suffer from depression. And I really do believe it's because of the choices that I've made about how I live my life that I don't. So I'm fortunate in that way. In regard to my grandfather and a comparable American writer, it's hard to say. I mean, he's my grandfather. I think he's great.
He changed American writing.
He did. He did indeed. He really came along and changed the way people wrote.
That's right.
In the 20th century.
Declarative sentences.
Absolutely.
Ottawa, Canada. Hello.
Hello. Yes, there's a particular drug, this is concerning Margo, that was used to treat epilepsy that's also widely used to treat bipolar depression. And I'm wondering if she could have been on this at the time for her epilepsy, and could this have contributed to the confusion and speculation concerning her death?
To be honest, I don't...
What's in it? Do you know the name of the drug, sir? I'm sorry, he's gone.
He's gone. To be honest, I don't know what she was taking. I know she was taking Klonopin, which was for epilepsy, and other drugs. I absolutely don't know. I know that combining different kinds of drugs can be very detrimental to people that have epilepsy. You can't you can. Herbal supplements are very dangerous to take if you're on medication. So. And
even now warnings today, if you're having surgery, watch herbal supplements.
Yes, absolutely.
Dorothy Stratton, the character you played in Star 80, a real person, a Playboy playmate who was killed by her husband, directed by Bob Fosse. You had to do nude scenes in that. Was there any problem with that?
You know, for me, in that movie, here was a director that was amazing, Bob Fosse. If it had been, a B movie for Joe, I would not have done it. But here was a great director, made all that jazz, made, these incredible cabaret. And I didn't worry about it. It was also the character play. It wasn't used for explicit purposes. It wasn't to be naked in a movie. I mean, oftentimes you see a movie and the girl's in the shower just because. There's no reason for it. She was a playmate. That's what she did. Was it hard for you to disrobe in front of people? Yes. Simply asked. We'll be right back with more of Mariel. Well answered. We'll be back with Mariel Hemmingway right after this.
Diva, I am so sorry. I really am so sorry. I don't know what's gotten into me. I feel like a pig. I'm sorry.
What is going on?
Well, Marty told me this thing about you in college and seeing girls, and ever since he told me, I just can't get it or you out of my mind.
You do know I'm getting married in 2 months, right?
Yes, I do.
You do.
I do, and like I said before, I'm sorry. I am. I'm just so attracted to